There's someone in your life right now who can ruin your entire day with just one sentence. But what if I told you that feeling, that white-hot rage burning through your chest, is biologically designed to last only 90 seconds? Unless you keep feeding it. I'm about to show you exactly how to never get angry or bothered by anyone ever again. And it starts with a secret your brain has been hiding from you. You're not broken, you're not too sensitive, and you're definitely not alone. Right now, there's someone, maybe it's your coworker, your partner, that one family member, who has the keys to your emotional state. They say something, and boom, your day is hijacked. Heart pounding, thoughts spiraling. Hours later, you're still replaying it in your head. Here's what neuroscience reveals. When someone triggers you, your amygdala floods your system with stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. This creates that chest-tightening sensation you know so well. But here's the part that changes everything. Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, a Harvard-trained brain scientist, discovered this chemical cascade naturally dissipates in 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Which means you're not being triggered for hours. You're re-triggering yourself, over and over. Every few minutes, you're hitting replay on a reaction that should have already ended. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 6 research-backed techniques that will rewire how you respond to difficult people, from the 90-second rule to the story stopper protocol. And by the end, those difficult people lose their power over your peace, permanently. Let's begin.
The 90-second rule. Here's the science that will set you free. When someone cuts you off in traffic, criticizes your work, or says that thing they always say, as earlier mentioned, your amygdala sounds the alarm. It releases a flood of stress hormones into your bloodstream: cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine. This is what creates that visceral response. The heat in your face, the tension in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach. Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, in her groundbreaking book, My Stroke of Insight, documented this precisely. These chemicals flush through and out of your body in 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's it. But here's the problem. You don't let it end there. Your coworker criticizes your presentation. The initial chemical reaction happens, but then, 20 minutes later, you're still at your desk replaying what they said, imagining what you should have said back, crafting the perfect comeback. Each time you replay it, you re-trigger the response. You release another wave of stress hormones. It's like having a smoke alarm that goes off when you burn toast, but instead of opening a window and letting the smoke clear, you stand there making more toast, over and over. Here's what to do instead. The moment you feel that surge, that heat rising, say this to yourself: this is 90 seconds of chemistry. I don't need to make it a story. Then, and this is critical, focus only on the physical sensation, not what they did, not what it means, just the sensation itself. Feel your heartbeat, notice your breathing, watch the tension in your jaw. Don't narrate, don't analyze, just observe. Next time someone triggers you, and they will, try this. Watch the 90 seconds pass. You'll actually feel it fade if you stop feeding it. The anger isn't the problem. It's what you do after the 90 seconds that determines your day. The observer self. Here's something that will fundamentally shift how you experience anger. You are not your emotions. You are the person experiencing them. Think about this. Have you ever been absolutely furious and simultaneously thought, wow, I'm really angry right now? That second voice, the one noticing the anger, where does that come from? That's your observer self. And here's the paradox that changes everything. The part of you that's aware of anger never actually gets angry. It just watches. Psychologists call this metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking, to feel your feelings while simultaneously observing them. And according to research from the University of Toronto, this simple act of labeling emotions reduces their intensity by up to 50%. But we collapse these two things. We say, I am angry, when the truth is, I notice anger. That distinction, that's where your freedom lives. Here's the technique that makes this real. Next time you're triggered, maybe it's Thanksgiving dinner and your uncle says that thing he always says, or your boss dismisses your idea in a meeting, mentally step back and narrate what's happening. Like you're David Attenborough documenting your own internal wildlife. Interesting. Uncle Jim just made a political comment, and now there's a tightness forming in my chest. My jaw is beginning to clench. Thoughts about defending myself are appearing. My heart rate is increasing. No judgment, no story, just pure observation. Or use this exact phrase. Interesting, I'm having the thought that he's disrespecting me. Not he is disrespecting me, but I'm having the thought that. This sounds absurd until you try it. That tiny linguistic shift creates distance. You move from being swept away by the emotion to being the scientist studying it. You're still feeling it, but you're not drowning in it. Practice this today. Pick any emotion, doesn't even have to be anger, and simply describe it to yourself. No fixing, no suppressing, just noticing. You're building a muscle, and that muscle is the difference between being controlled by your reactions and choosing your responses.
The button pusher myth. Here's the lie we all believe. They made me angry. They pushed my buttons. Your brother-in-law makes that political comment, you explode. Your boss takes credit for your work. You're fuming for days. Your partner says that one thing, instant rage. We say they're pushing our buttons, but here's the truth that will set you free. Nobody can push buttons you don't have. Think about it. 5 people hear the same comment. One person erupts. Another feels mildly annoyed. 3 others don't even notice. Same comment, different reactions. The comment didn't create the anger. It revealed a button that was already installed. And here's what most people never realize. You installed those buttons. Not intentionally, not consciously, but somewhere in your past, you learned that certain things mean you're not respected, not valued, not enough. Psychologist Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, founder of nonviolent communication, explains it this way. Every trigger points to an unmet need. When your partner says, "You're just like your father," that's not creating anger. It's touching a wound about identity, about being seen, about not wanting to repeat patterns. When your boss dismisses your idea, it's not the dismissal that triggers you. It's the unmet need for recognition, for contribution, for mattering. This changes everything, because now you're not a victim of button pushers. You're a detective investigating your own psychology. Here's the technique. Next time someone triggers you, pause. Don't react. Don't defend. Instead, ask yourself, what button did this just reveal? Your partner makes that recurring comment about how you load the dishwasher. Instead of defending your dishwasher methodology, ask, what button is this touching? Is it about competence? Control? Being criticized? Your boss uses that dismissive tone in the meeting. Instead of spiraling into resentment, investigate, what need isn't being met here? Recognition? Respect? Autonomy? You shift from victim to scientist, from reactive to curious. And once you see the button, you can choose whether to keep it installed. This is the shift from "they're doing this to me" to "this is revealing something in me." And that shift, that's where your power lives. If this is already changing how you see your triggers, if you're starting to realize you've been re-triggering yourself this whole time, hit that like button right now.
because what's coming next, this is the game changer. The technique that creates actual space between what happens and how you respond. Let's continue. The pause protocol. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote something that contains the entire secret to emotional freedom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. But most of us never find that space. Someone insults us and we're already reacting. Someone accuses us and we're already defending. The gap between what happens and how we respond? Milliseconds. Here's why. When you're triggered, your amygdala, the primitive emotional part of your brain, hijacks your nervous system. It's fast, automatic, designed to keep you alive when a lion appears. But your prefrontal cortex, the rational, thoughtful part of your brain, needs a few seconds to come online. It's slower, more deliberate. This is the part that can consider consequences, evaluate options, and choose responses. Think of your brain like a courtroom. Your amygdala is screaming, guilty, attack, defend. But you don't want the amygdala to be both judge and jury. You want your prefrontal cortex, the actual judge, to weigh in. And that requires one thing: pause. Here's the protocol that creates that space. Step 1. Pause. The moment you feel that surge, stop. Don't speak, don't text, don't react. Just stop. Step 2. Breathe. 1 deep breath. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system and gives your prefrontal cortex time to boot up. Step 3. Choose. Now you respond, not react, respond. Let me show you what this looks like. Before the pause protocol, your colleague accuses you of dropping the ball on a project. Instantly, you fire back. That's not true. You never even told me about the deadline. Now you're in a defensive spiral. The relationship is damaged. The issue isn't solved. After the pause protocol, same accusation, but this time you pause. You take 1 breath. Then you say, let me think about that for a second. Just those 7 words create space. Your amygdala calms. Your prefrontal cortex engages. Now you can respond. I want to understand what happened. Can you walk me through what you needed from me? Same situation, completely different outcome. Use these exact phrases. Let me think about that. Give me a second. I need a moment before I respond to that. These aren't weak. They're powerful. They're you refusing to be hijacked. Viktor Frankl found that space in a concentration camp. You can find it in a heated conversation. Again, between stimulus and response, there is a space. That space is where you become untriggerable.
Compassionate distance. Here's the skill that separates emotional maturity from emotional reactivity. The ability to understand someone without absorbing their emotional state. Most of us think we have 2 options. Either we engage and get dragged into the chaos, or we shut down and disconnect completely. Fight or flight. But there's a third option: compassionate distance. Here's the reframe that makes this possible. Their behavior is about them, not you. When your mother criticizes your parenting, that's not really about your parenting. It's about her anxiety, her need for control, her unprocessed regrets about her own parenting. When your coworker snaps at you in the meeting, that's not about you. It's about the pressure they're under, the fear they're carrying, the insecurity they haven't addressed. There's a phrase in psychology: hurt people hurt people. And here's the liberating truth: you don't have to join them in their hurt. Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher on self-compassion at the University of Texas, found that people who can maintain compassionate distance experience significantly less emotional contagion. They can witness suffering without becoming infected by it. Here's the technique that makes this real. Think of yourself as the audience, not an actor in their drama. You're watching the play. You can see what's happening. You can even understand why they're behaving this way. But you're not on stage with them. Your toxic family member launches into their usual tirade at the holiday dinner. Old you would either fight back or shut down. New you? You're in the audience. You can see they're performing a script they've been rehearsing for decades. You can see the pain underneath the words. And from the audience, you can think, they're in pain. I don't have to be. An angry customer is berating you about something outside your control. Instead of absorbing their rage or matching their energy, you observe, this person is deeply frustrated. That's real. But I don't have to carry their frustration for them. A friend makes a cutting remark disguised as a joke. Instead of retaliating or ruminating, you note, that came from their insecurity, not my inadequacy. This isn't about excusing bad behavior. You can still set boundaries. In fact, you can set better boundaries from this place because you're not emotionally hijacked. You can say, I can see you're upset, but I'm not available for this conversation when it's happening this way. No anger, no guilt, just clarity. Compassionate distance means you see their suffering without joining it. You understand their behavior without absorbing their chaos. They're in pain. You can acknowledge that, but you don't have to be. The story stopper. Here's what keeps you angry long after the 90 seconds have passed. The stories you tell yourself. Someone doesn't respond to your text for 3 hours. The fact is, they didn't respond for 3 hours. But you don't stop at the fact. You write an entire novel. They're ignoring me, they don't value my time, they're probably talking about me to someone else right now. This is just like what happened last month. They never respect my... And now you're furious. Not at what happened, at the fiction you created. Your boss doesn't invite you to a meeting. The fact, you weren't invited to one meeting. The story, they don't think I'm important. They're probably planning to push me out. My career here is over. I knew I should never have trusted... You've gone from a calendar event to an existential crisis in 30 seconds. Dr. Byron Katie, author of Loving What Is, built an entire method around this insight. We suffer not from reality, but from our thoughts about reality. And most of those thoughts are fiction. Here's how to stop the story before it hijacks you. The moment you feel triggered, ask yourself this question. What actually happened versus what am I making it mean? Separate the fact from the narrative. Your partner forgets to pick up milk on the way home. Fact, they didn't buy milk. Story, they don't listen to me. They don't care about what I need. I'm always the one who has to remember everything. They take me for granted. See the difference? The fact is neutral. The story is where all the pain lives. A colleague doesn't acknowledge your contribution in the meeting. Fact, they presented the results without mentioning your name. Story, they're trying to steal credit. They're threatened by me. This company doesn't value my work. I'm never getting promoted. You just escalated from one omission to a career catastrophe. Here's your new mantra. That's a story. What do I actually know? You check your partner's phone and see a text from an unknown number. Before you spiral, pause. That's a story. What do I actually know? I know there's a text from an unknown number. That's it. Your friend cancels plans last minute. Before you decide they're a terrible person, that's a story. What do I actually know? I know plans changed. I don't know why. This doesn't mean you ignore red flags or dismiss your intuition. It means you stop confusing facts with the fiction you've built around them. Most of your anger isn't about what happened. It's about the meaning you assigned to what happened. Try this with your next trigger today. When you feel that heat rising, stop and ask what actually happened and what story am I telling about what happened. You'll be shocked at how often you're furious about a story, not a fact. And once you see the story, you can choose not to believe it.
Let's bring this all together. You now have 6 tools that transform how you respond to difficult people. The 90-second rule teaches you that anger is temporary.
unless you keep feeding it. The observer self shows you that you're not your emotions, you're the one experiencing them. The button pusher myth reveals that triggers point to your unmet needs, not other people's power over you. The pause protocol creates space between what happens and how you respond. Compassionate distance lets you understand without absorbing. And the story stopper separates facts from the fiction that fuels your rage. Notice how these build on each other. First, awareness. You see that you're re-triggering yourself. Then, understanding. You recognize the patterns, the buttons, the stories. Finally, application. You pause, you choose, you respond instead of react. Here's the truth. You won't use all 6 techniques every single time. You don't need to. When someone cuts you off in traffic, the 90-second rule might be all you need. When your boss dismisses your idea, maybe it's the pause protocol plus compassionate distance. Pick what fits the situation. Here's your challenge. Notice your next trigger. Just one. It might be today, it might be in the next hour. And when it comes, choose one of these techniques. Just one. Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to never feel anger. You're not trying to eliminate anger. You're learning to choose what you do with it. That choice, that's what makes you unbothered and untriggerable.
Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and go through your entire day completely unfazed. Your coworker makes that comment, you notice it and let it pass. Your family member pushes that button, you see it for what it is and choose peace. That person who used to hijack your emotions for hours, they're just background noise now. This isn't about perfection. You'll still feel anger, you'll still get triggered, but now you have a choice. And that choice changes everything. You have everything you need, the science, the techniques, the awareness. Start with 90 seconds and watch what happens when difficult people lose their power over you. If this changed how you see anger, subscribe for more tools to master your mind. The next video might be exactly what you need.